If you've ever wondered why I am such a defender of the Moleskine Sketchbook, today I am here to tell you why. I mess up my drawings a lot. I have to do a lot of erasing. My process of drawing and sketching is just basically make lots of mistakes and fix them as you go. But to do this, you have to have paper that can keep up with all of your erasing and mistakes, and Moleskine is that paper. So basically, I decided to use this drawing as an example because I screwed it up so many times. As you can see here, it's in rough shape. You can kind of see the lines on the paper at this point because I've erased it and tried to fix it and redrawn it so many times. And I don't mean like light sketches. Like I had gone in with shade, and then I decided I was just going to erase the whole thing. But anyways, so this is what it looks like after I did a fair amount of blending and then I erased it. But yeah, so basically I screwed this drawing up a bunch of times, and here's some past iterations. They are truly frightful and they speak for themselves. They are not good. Unfortunately, it was on the back of my Higuruma drawing, so I couldn't just rip the page out of my sketchbook. And so I was like, you know what? We got to make this work. Gotta make it work. And again, with any other sketchbook, I'd be like, well, the cause is lost. But not with the Moleskine. With the Moleskine, I will use those pages until they can function no more. But they're expensive, so I don't waste pages. And I don't have to most of the time because the quality is actually higher than other sketchbooks that I've used. Because a lot of times I am of the opinion that brand names will just raise the price because they can. But Moleskine actually is significantly better than all of the other sketchbooks that I don't like out there. So yes, they're expensive, but like not just because it's a brand name, because they're actually better, if that makes sense. But that being said, Moleskine's not for everyone. You don't need a Moleskine in order to learn how to draw. You don't need a Moleskine in order to draw. Just depends on your personality, the type of drawings that you do, and the way that you sketch. So I'm going to tell you why I use a Moleskine, and you can decide if they are right for you. So Moleskine, the first thing to know is it is not white, and I'm okay with that personally, but if you're getting a Moleskine and expecting pretty pearly white paper, that's just not the case. It is slightly yellowy. I tend to color correct my videos with a little bit of blue that kind of balances that in the video, but in person my drawings do look more yellow, which is again fine with me. Just on camera it's not exactly how they look. Additionally, the paper is extremely smooth. I personally like that. I can layer like nobody's business and just keep blending away, and it just looks very smooth and pretty. However, it can be nice to have paper texture when you're shading to make that part of the drawing. I used to use mixed media and it was a lot easier to shade. It was a lot faster to shade just because the paper itself was part of the texture and added a little bit of dimension to the drawing without having to add it all back in manually. So the smooth paper is a plus and a negative depending on your preference, I would say. But for me, I like it. I'm used to it. And it does take a lot more layers to get it to look the way that I want, but I'm okay with that. Secondly, because it's smooth and because of the paper the way that it is, I don't know, it definitely does take more layers. It's not going to look as dark as, say, a regular sketchbook page or mixed media or something like that, or just a white sketchbook. I usually do have to go in and layer it more. Comparatively, if you're looking for something that's similar, I would say Talons is similar. It's a similar experience. The pages are super smooth. However, you cannot layer near to the amount that you can with Moleskine. I do like Talons. I think if you're looking for a cheap alternative, Talons is probably the closest that I've tried. That being said, it's not the same. It is not the same thickness. It cannot handle as many mediums as Moleskine can, but it is pretty reasonable for the price, in my opinion. So as you can see here, obviously I just do layer after layer after layer after layer, and that's how I get it as dark as I do. I use HB for all of the drawing, for every drawing that I do, and I just like the way that it layers better than other pencils. So you may say, well, why not just use 6B pencil? Then you don't have to spend hours upon hours layering. I could do that. However, I don't really like softer graphite pencils just because, for one, I find them harder to blend. They get into the paper and they look chunky and they just don't smooth out the same way that HB pencils do. So I don't really like to work with 6B pencils or something, 5B. 2B's fine. 2B's pretty close to HB, so it does blend pretty well. But I just find that the softer the pencil is, the harder it is to blend it out to the level of smoothness that I'm looking for. And I also avoid higher number H pencils just because they're harder. So even though they're lighter, a lot of people use them for sketches. I don't like to use them because I tend to push too hard and then I scratch the page. So HB for me is just a happy medium, and I use it for everything: sketching, rendering, shading, details. I use HB for everything. If you're ever questioning, it's never charcoal, it's never 6B, it's always HB. People don't believe me, but it is. I just spend anywhere between 15 to 60 hours on a drawing. So it's that dark because I spent hours and hours layering shading. So that's the big secret. It's not charcoal. However, you could do charcoal on Moleskine. It would handle it nicely. You just have to use a fixative afterwards so that it doesn't smear everywhere. And that brings us to our second point. Moleskine does not smear the way that normal sketchbooks do. I used to use a mixed media, Canson mixed media, because it could handle the amount of layers that I wanted to do, but it would smear so badly. If I closed the sketchbook, the drawings would just totally change. Moleskine doesn't do that. I do fix my drawings with hairspray, which some people say you shouldn't do because it yellows the page, but Moleskine's already yellow, so I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years at this point, and all of the old drawings that I did it with look fine, so do it at your own risk, but I haven't had any issues as of so far. That being said, even when I don't use hairspray, they don't immediately smear all over the place. Moleskine just holds the graphite in and together a lot better than other sketchbooks. So you still want to be careful, but you can draw on both sides of the page without completely ruining whatever's on the other side. Also, like I mentioned before, you can do mixed media with Moleskine. I've done acrylic marker, I've done regular marker, I've done colored pencils, I've done graphite obviously, and I have done watercolor. It will sort of warble up with watercolor, but it can handle it. It does do it fine. I haven't really done watercolor with a page that's still attached to the sketchbook. I usually rip the pages out when I work with watercolor, so the warbling doesn't seem as noticeable, but yeah, you can do it. I know artists that do use Moleskine sketchbooks for watercolor. People always tell me, but Moleskine's so expensive, like it's so expensive. And I'm not going to deny it is expensive, especially depending on when you get it. I think they must have some supply issues at times because the price fluctuates quite a bit. I've seen this size sketchbook anywhere from $30 to $50 depending on when I looked at it. So if it is $50, don't buy it, just wait. Price will hopefully go down, or if you look at different places. Also, don't buy it at like a art supply store. If you buy it at a craft store, maybe it's okay, but an art supply store is always going to have the top most expensive price. Somewhere like Amazon, or even like if you have a coupon for like Barnes & Noble or something, you can use it on a Moleskine. Like, do that. Don't buy it at full price because it exists somewhere on sale, usually, even if it's like TikTok or something. But that being said, I have had this particular sketchbook for at least 3 years, probably close to 4 years at this point, and I still have pages left because it takes me so long to draw on the page. So if you're getting something for just really quick practice sketches, probably don't go for Moleskine, buy something cheaper. Moleskine I usually reserve for more in-depth, high-quality drawings. Not that you have to. If you have the money and you want to spend that money on Moleskine and just casually sketch, that's fine. But if you are trying to get the most bang for your buck, I would reserve Moleskine for the drawings that actually require that level of paper. But that's just my opinion. That's just what I do. And it has allowed me to use my Moleskine for a really long amount of time compared to other sketchbooks. But also, because it's Moleskine and because you can do a large amount of erasing and still keep drawing on the page and it'll turn out okay in the end most of the time, that also has allowed me to have the same sketchbook for a long period of time, because if I mess up on a regular sketchbook, most of the time I have to just chuck it because you'll be able to see all kinds of lines and the paper just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't blend well. It just looks really bad, shiny, whatever. But with Moleskine, I can usually use pages that I've messed up on, and I don't really tear pages out ever. I don't really waste pages ever. I sometimes will leave them and then come back to them at a later date, but a lot of times, even if you just erase the entire page and then try to redraw on it, it'll kind of work. If you do a lot of erasing and redrawing in like the exact same area, like if I redraw the eye 50 times, it's gonna be really hard to keep drawing the eye in that area because the eye area is definitely messed up. But if you erase the whole page and then just do different sketches that aren't all focused on that one specific spot, then it's usually fine, and that's what I do. So my goal for this year is to finish the sketchbook because I've had it for too long at this point. It's falling apart. Like the binding, the little piece on the binding is falling off, and then the string that holds it together fell off a long time ago, and it makes me sad. And I want to start one of my new ones because I got a new one for Christmas like literally 2 years ago that I haven't been able to start because I've been stuck on this one. And it's not like I'm complaining, but I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, I need to move on. I need to start a new sketchbook because this one is just, it has my drawings from 4 years ago in it, or 3 years ago, whatever it is. And I'm ready to start a new sketchbook because I want to do a sketchbook tour, but I don't want to do a sketchbook tour with a sketchbook that's not finished yet. So as soon as I finish the sketchbook, I will do a sketchbook tour. But I also have a smaller Moleskine sketchbook that I'm also hoping to finish this year. And I've also had that one for quite a long time. And I think that one's more likely to be finished soon. I've been trying to fill in the extra pages pages. This size I do only graphite drawings in just because I like to keep it all the same, but the smaller one I do graphite and all the other mediums that I mentioned, which I can show you here. So I usually save this one for more experimental stuff or just markers, anything that I want to draw. I'll just stick it in this sketchbook, and then usually like really experimental stuff I'll put in my talons, so that way if it looks bad I don't feel bad about wasting page. Because I have a weird thing about wanting my sketchbooks to look nice. Even if I start a sketchbook with the intention of it just being like a messy practice sketchbook, it inevitably turns into a high pressure situation where I have to make every page look nice, and I don't really know how to stop myself from doing that. I just start a new sketchbook with like practice kind of junky sketches, and yeah. Sometimes I'll go back and just redraw over stuff to kind of get myself in the mentality of it's okay to mess up, but it's just a thing that I'm weird about, so I need to, work on not getting stressed out over every page so that I can finally finish a sketchbook, because when you're freaked out about making every page look perfect, it honestly inhibits your growth, and it makes it harder to just draw casually and harder to draw every day if you're focused on making every drawing perfect. So I do think you should have a sort of junk sketchbook, which I made a little video about a while ago, but if you do want to have a sketchbook for really nice, fancy drawings, Moleskine is the way to go for some people, like myself. Now, if you draw perfect line art every time, because those people exist out there, I am not one of them, maybe you don't need Moleskine. Maybe you can make a regular sketchbook work. I don't know, but I can't. I mess up too many times to make a regular sketchbook work and to use it without wasting a lot of pages. So that is why I use Moleskine, and that is why I will keep using Moleskine until they screw up their paper, because who knows? Papermate did it with their pencils, and I'm mad about it, but if you have any questions, let me know, because I could talk about paper for a long time, but I feel like it's boring, and I don't realize it's boring, because I once did that to someone that I worked with, and I talked to them about pencils for like a half an hour straight, and then I was like, wait a second, they probably did not enjoy that conversation, even though I did. I was real excited to tell them about the pencils that I use, and then I was like, this is probably not an interesting conversation to the average person. So I tend to do that, ramble on about things and art supplies that I think is super interesting, and everyone else is like, no, it's not. So anyways, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching the video. But I mean, there's really not a whole lot to talk about for this process, because a lot of it is just drawing, erasing, redrawing, adjusting, and that's just how I work. I think of drawing a lot like sculpting. I start with a really rough design, and then I just sort of sculpt it in to look the way that I want it to. So it's a little bit hard for me to explain my actual process sometimes, because a lot of people don't draw that way. Part of my issue is I can't really picture things well in my head, so I don't really know what it's going to look like until it's on the page, which is why I try to do a sketch first, and that definitely helps. But a lot of times, if I don't start with a sketch, genuinely have no idea what it's going to look like, which is one reason with digital art, I am just as surprised at the end as anyone that's watching me draw it, because I have no idea what it's going to look like by the time that I'm finished, because I don't really have a finished idea in mind, because I can't really picture it in my head. This sketch, by the way, is Dokuga from Dorohedoro. I don't think I ever actually said that in this video, so if you were wondering, that's who it is. This sketch was supposed to be done weeks ago, but I messed it up, as I said, and had to kind of draw out the process longer than I was expecting. But yeah, now it's finally done, and I can focus on the actual Dorohedoro drawing that I've been planning to do for months, and he's going to go right next to this drawing, so hopefully you'll see that in a week or so. But we'll see, because things always take me much longer than I expect them to. Also, the reason I haven't posted a YouTube video in so long is because my laptop could not edit longer than like 3-minute videos, because it was spazzing out every single time I would try. But I finally obtained a new computer, and I'm getting used to it, so this is my first video with that, and hopefully I will be able to start posting more consistently. So that being said, here's the final drawing. And thank you so much for watching. If you would like to see more videos like this or other things in the future, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help me out a lot. Oh, and just as a parting thing, I do have a Patreon with a mail club. This month's theme is fantasy, so you can check that out. I will link it below, but you can also see all of the things that are included in this month's mail club in the posts section of YouTube, as well as in the link in my bio. You'll be able to find my Patreon there. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye!